So I want to go into that question of meaning and purpose. I mean, we are meaning-seeking creatures. I mean, we look for meaning, and we will, I think, sort of find meaning even if it's not, obviously there. And that seems like sort of possibly a different kind of category of explanation. I mean, you talked about religion earlier. I mean, because a lot of this search for meaning has to do with what is the proper moral behavior, our value judgments. That it seems like that comes into these questions about looking for meaning and purpose.
Yeah, let me tell you about some studies we did that I think speak to this. So a few years ago, we did a series of studies where we asked dozens and dozens of people to answer various kinds of existential questions. So these were questions like, why is there suffering in the world? What happens after we die? How did the universe come to exist? And we chose these questions because I think they are the sorts of big existential why questions that some people do ask themselves, and also because they're the kinds of questions, I think not coincidentally, that often people give both scientific and religious answers to. So in a sample, these were participants based in the US, and we got a huge range of answers to these kinds of questions. Some of them were religious, some of them were scientific, some of them were a blend of the two, some of them were more sort of common sense rather than scientific per se, but were not religious and so on. And what we were interested in is what kinds of properties people thought these explanations had. And one of the set of properties we looked at was something like, how accurate is this? How true is this story, right? So we'd ask them questions like, to what extent do you think this explanation is based on evidence? To what extent do you think it's logically consistent, and so on? But then we also asked them all these other kinds of questions, sort of meaning and purpose questions. We asked them whether or not they found an explanation comforting. We asked them whether or not we thought that believing in that explanation would make the world better. We asked them whether or not that was the kind of explanation that brought people together, and so on. And what we found was that on average, people thought the scientific explanations were better along these accuracy, truth sorts of dimensions. But on average, people thought the religious explanations were much better along these other dimensions, which we sort of characterize as sort of emotional, social, and moral dimensions. And so they were really playing complementary kinds of roles for people. And they're both roles that are important,